Hey, elevators. This is Elle Beecham, owner, creator, and founder of the Elevate Movement, which is a naturopathic approach to healing and mental health. I am very encouraged and empowered this morning. I'm on my way to my part-time job, working 7 days a week. I never thought that I would be able to do this, but it's actually not that bad. And I guess, when you enjoy what you're doing, it's not that bad. So I was up at 3 this morning and I came across a Dear Future Wifey video. And the video talked about ayahuasca or new age, religion or spirituality, and then back to Christ, and the truth about ayahuasca. That was, some of the title. Don't quote me on that. In the video, there's this lady named Chelsea, and Latarius, my classmate from Townview, is interviewing her. And shout out to Latarius, he's doing awesome, with his podcast. Big ups to you, bro. But he's interviewing her about her experience with ayahuasca, and she experienced this 3 times. So she was in a ritualistic ceremony with ayahuasca, which is a plant-based medicine, and it's a psychedelic, and you are in and out of consciousness. So she referenced ayahuasca as the grandmother, and maybe, the shaman who administered her ceremony considered it to be a grandmother. In my experience with ayahuasca, as many times as I have experienced it, it has been Mother Ayahuasca. But who cares, right? Don't get caught up, on the word, but more so on the things that happen. What I took from the video was, it was her account with this spiritual medicine, and she didn't have a good experience. So she talked about when she was under the plant medicine, the first time she really didn't surrender, and she was still present, but she was kind of in and out of consciousness. The second time she experienced the medicine, she had an encounter with some of her deeper self, which were the deeply rooted issues that she had from, learning that she was adopted and her father not being in her life. She continued to go into these spiritual realms and dimensions. We call them trips. And when she was there, she got to experience deeper parts of her. She started to see things. She started to have sightings. There was a lot of things that she did not understand that was happening. So in her mind, this was witchcraft, because we can't make sense of it, and it's not rational. It's not something that we are normally taught that happens when you delve deeper into inner self. So what I would like to challenge us, instead of calling something witchcraft and saying that it's not of God, and saying all of these things, because she talked about what got her there was one of her very favorite gospel singers tried to date her, then the shaman who administered her ayahuasca tried to date her. I get all of that. You're a nice looking lady. Men are men, whether they're a shaman, a pastor, a worship leader, they are men first. And if you have a good church leader, they'll teach you that. Like, you cannot give them so much clout and power that you forget that they are a human being first. That's the first thing. The second thing is, just because it's something that we don't understand or we agree with does not mean that it's witchcraft. I would highly suggest that we broaden our horizons and go deeper in some of these things. Like, it's not the reason we have different religions, the reason we have different, spiritual beliefs, is because everybody is looking for the thing that works for them. And what I've discovered is that it's not just a one-stop shop for me. It's not just the Bible. I got to do other things as well. I have to practice other beliefs in order for me to stay sane, in order for me to be able to function every day. And that may be somebody else's story too. But church folks, And people, you know, of the cloth, we tend to throw people away if they don't fit into those pages. And that's the biggest complaint that I have about church. Like, that's it. If we met people where they were and loved them unconditionally, allow God to do the work. Like, it's not our work to be done. And yes, we are supposed to witness to them and show them, you know, the way. However, if that's not their way just yet, then what do? But we often find ourselves like talking about them. We find ourselves, you know, condemning them, throwing them away. But the biggest takeaway I took from that video, she said that she went back to Christ. I ain't got no problem with you going back to church. It's your life. Do what you want to do, right? But as for me and my house, I don't have to go back to church. I am the church. That's the biggest thing. But her experience with ayahuasca opened up some trauma that she didn't even realize was there. Her intention was a deeper understanding of herself and a relationship, a better understanding of herself, a deeper relationship with herself. She wanted to understand like what was in the way of, you know, her success or her progress, and it was fear, but also it was that of her dad. She learned that she was adopted at 18 years old. So my thing is this: ayahuasca did its business. It opened up these things that you had blocked out, that you wasn't aware of. So to me, all in all, you had a great experience. You just didn't like it. Now, this is the thing that people get messed up or confused when they are dealing with the spiritual realm. The spiritual realm, because she talked about, you know, you can just have sex with whoever you want to. You can do drugs. You can do this. You can do that. No, in the spiritual realm, you do have free will. However, your free will should not be anything that's going to damage and harm the soul, your temple, your body, yourself, and other people. So to think that spiritual people are just out here doing whatever they want to do, she was misinformed and miseducated, because if nothing else, we have more of a standard that we have for ourselves, and we incorporate a lot of self-love, and we don't continue to serve when we're tired. So the biggest thing that I've learned in the spiritual community is asking myself, like, do you have enough to give today? Because see, when I grew up in the church as a child, you were supposed to serve, keep forgiving, keep showing up no matter how people treated you. Just let them apologize and keep it moving. That's not the rule book that I live by today. If you keep effing over me and you keep messing up and pissing me off or doing hurtful things to me, I have to step back and assess the situation and the relationship. Like, is this of my highest good? So that's a misconception, you know, that she has about the spiritual community. And the other misconception that she had about her entire experience, I don't want to discount it because it's her experience, but a different way that I would look at that is ayahuasca opened her up to some things that she would have never been opened up to in the church. And I'll say this all day long: the church does not equip you to get to the core of that inner child work. The church does not really deal with mental health issues. We don't talk about anxiety and depression. We don't talk about medication in church. We don't talk about having, you know, traumas that interfere with husband and wives not being able to sexually please their husbands. We do not talk about this stuff in the church. That's a disservice to people all over the world, because you got people who come in there who are suited and booted, who look nice on the outside, right? Look like $1,000,000, but they shitty on the inside. They're shitty people. Their character is shit. They don't have morals and values and standards. These are people that go to church. These are people that you work with every day. These are people that you hang out with. So it's not just the spiritual community, and it's not just church people. It's people in general. So before you start to talk about different things that you know nothing about, I would just advise everybody to be enlightened, do your own research, Stop asking church people why are they, seeking out other things other than God. Because what I believe is that God got all of us covered. It doesn't matter the path that we choose. Everybody's path look different. If as long as we are doing God's work and we are about love and not condemning people and throwing them away, that's God. That's the love of God. That's all we are supposed to do, is that right there. So, in my opinion, ayahuasca, on the Dear Future Wifey podcast, it opened her up to some things that she didn't even know was there. She was unaware of. She was blind. She was oblivious. She was very one-dimensional in her faith, as most of us are. I was that person too. And I had to understand that for me, it wasn't just a one-stop shop. I'm a very intricate and complicated soul. So I had to find things that spoke to me. And you have to do that. Like, I encourage all my church people to find your way in the Word. Find your way in other principles and practices that you can adopt. Because it's not just church, guys. Like, it's not just praying to God. It's not. It's so much more out there. And we owe it to ourselves to find out what more is out there. Because you'll run across scholars and people who will challenge you. And if all you have to do is go to a scripture and say what you believe and what you know to be true, well, guess what? I know my ayahuasca experience, every time I have experienced it, got me to a better and a deeper place within myself. So if that's all we're going off of is just experiences and what we feel like, then why condemn anybody? We all right if that's the case. You understand what I'm saying? We all have an experience that's worth talking about. So just be open to something other than what you know. Just be open to love. Be open to a different way of life. Be open to this may not be the only way, to live life. Like, there are other things that I can do, get involved in, and it doesn't mean that it's wrong just because I don't do it. Let's be a little bit more tolerant and understanding of people and what they have going on, because the same way, that you are condemning people and having an opinion and saying this and saying that, somebody could feel that way about you too. And I just think in order for this to be a better world, we just need to be a little more loving and understanding when it comes to other people and what they have going on. So with that being said, ayahuasca served its purpose for that young lady. Even though she is back in the church now, I wish her well. I wish Latarius well too. And as a whole, as a collective, let's just be understanding. Let's be loving. That's our biggest commandment from God, is to love everybody. We're not supposed to judge. And I feel like, we use scripture to benefit us in whatever state that we're in. So let's just be understanding and tolerant. So until my next video, elevators, I gotta go to work and be great. Styling one person at a time, one client at a time, one mannequin at a time. Like, I got stuff to do. So until my next video, have a great Sunday.